And it's not just a phrase for us, it's something that we are really doing. And the way that we have found is that if you think about it, what does it mean to be homeless? What does it mean? Without a home. That's exactly right. That's what homeless means. It just means that you're without a home. So to end homelessness, what do you think we have to do? Right. Provide a home or move people into a home. And that is what we are doing. And we're doing that we're definitely doing it on a monthly basis, which is great. And I know that this parish is very involved with Voice, which is really advocating for more affordable housing in Arlington, which we very much support. I'm going to try and come to your next action that you have. But the story I want to tell you about today, because it kind of illustrates what we do. So I came to ASTAN, and I went to a conference in DC, and it was all about the 100,000 Homes campaign. Do you all know what that is? It was a campaign that was started back in like 2010 to really house 100,000 nationwide, 100,000 individuals by 2014. And this summer, the campaign ended, and actually all the communities, and Arlington was one of them, because we joined and we did the 100 Homes campaign. And so from that time, we actually, I thought 100,000 was an amazing number when I heard it at first, and we actually housed over 105,000 people who were homeless during that time. And what that taught me is that when you are focused on something and you reach out to a lot of people to figure out how to make that happen, it's miraculous what you can do. And so here in Arlington, we did the 100 Homes campaign. And that was to house 100 homeless Arlingtonians. Since that time, we did our registry week this time 3 years ago, and by this time in 2014, and we over-exceeded our goal. And so next Wednesday, I just want to tell you all this, and I've got flyers for you all to take home, but there's going to be a big celebration of the 100 Homes campaign. And because between all of the providers in Arlington County and the county staff and the community and everything, we've housed over that many people. But the most important thing for me is that to date, 95 of those people are still in housing. That is an amazing thing. And so the reason for that is really because of the case management, because they have people with them who help them all along the way and don't leave them. And so the story I'm going to tell you tonight, we're focused on ending homelessness, but through this campaign, one of the things that we did is that we really formed a partnership with the Veterans Administration. And so in those 100+ people that we housed, we actually housed 15 veterans who were living on our streets and in our woods, and they're all in homes right now. We haven't finished, and we're going to continue. But I want to tell you a story about one of the veterans, because this year we're really focusing on that. Because most people in Arlington have no idea that there are veterans who are living under bridges and in the woods and at the metro stations. They just have no idea. And we actually have a fair number of them. We had about close to 60, and now I think we've half that number, which I'm really, really glad about. And we're continuing because there's a big focus to get all of them housed by December of 2015. So I got a call in 2011 from the Washington Post, and it was in November around Veterans who came there each night for meals. And so there was an article about him, and it was all about the plight of the homeless. Next year, okay, and we've started the 100 Homes campaign, and we're doing all this stuff, and we now formed the relationship with the VA. And so he called me again, and he said, you know, I'd like to do a follow-up story. And I said, okay, that's great. And he had really enjoyed one of the veterans that he'd spoken to, Mr. Moss. And I said, that's great. I would love for you to come this Veterans Day and interview him, because we moved him into housing about 4 months ago, and that would be great. It would be great to see what you can do. So he came and he interviewed Mr. Moss. And Mr. Moss is, he's a very shy man, and he was in the Navy, and I don't know all the Navy terms, so someone who knows the Navy things, like he was on a ship, and what is that called? It's not a squadron, what are those things called? Anybody in the Navy? No one's in the Navy? Okay. I think it might, I don't know if that's Air Force, but anyway, whatever it is, that group that he was in, they contacted us and they said, oh my gosh, you know, we really want to help him. And he was he didn't want, you know, he had been living by the stream off of Columbia Pike under an underpass for years. And he's very quiet and unassuming and didn't want any of that help. But what I want to show you is he is still in housing today. And I just saw him yesterday, and he is so grateful. He comes to, because once they get into housing, then we can link him to like AFAC, right? Because what is someone who's living on the streets going to do with a half-gallon of milk? None of our clients can access AFAC. They can't, what would they do with a big box of cereal? They can't use it. So that's why the meals that you all provide when you come, for us, those are so important, because they really have to worry about meals. So what I want to show you is in the banners that you were carrying, this is Mr. Moss. And so these are the pictures from the Washington Post. So this is what he looked like when he was living under the bridge by the stream. And then this is what he looked like a year later when he moved into housing. And so one of the interesting things about that is that housing is kind of a form of healthcare. We found dramatic changes when you can get someone into housing. And so that's really our mission. It's really to move people from homelessness into a home. And then you can link them with services, you can link them with supports. And the neatest thing about him is most people who end up on the street have completely ruptured all of their relationships with their families. And so what we have found is once they're in housing and they get stabilized and they're comfortable and everything, then we can begin approaching with the case managers. They start reconnecting them with their families. And so he was he's lived in Northern Virginia and in Arlington for a very long time, but he's originally from California. And his brother had not heard from him in years. He used to work, he became disabled, he couldn't do that, he didn't have any income, and that's how he ended up homeless. And so his brother actually, it was really, I mean, all of us had tears. His brother came out and we got them together, and he now is connected, and so it's really, really nice. So anyway, so that's my story. So what we're doing is really important, and it's about individual people.